Hi, everybody. This is Professor Goldstein again. Hope everybody is good and learning and happy and healthy in their lives and their families and jobs. And just wanted to remind everyone that the first part of your paper you should be working on right now, immediately, getting it done because it's going to be due in less than a month at the end of May. That is the idea where you came up with the idea for your business. That's the aha moment, and that's what we're going to be talking about a little today. And then we're going to be then also a description of your business. So how you came up with the business, then a description of your business. And then we're going to talk a little bit. We talked a little bit last video. We'll talk some more about it. The marketing of your business. So it's really the aha moment, the moment where you the description of your business, a brief description of your business, and then how you're going to market your business. And there's all types of ways to market the business, and we'll talk about that. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the advertising of the business. So you're going to be that's the next part. So it's going to be the marketing, then the advertising, then we're going to talk about the cost and how much money it's going to take for the business. But basically, right now, the description of the business, the marketing of the business, and the advertising of the business. Those are the four components that you should be working on right now. Not the advertising yet, sorry. Advertising I'll be doing next on Wednesday. Really just working on the description, and the marketing of your business. Okay, so let me start with today. When you come up with your aha moment, it is actually a tangible asset, an asset that can be used. In other words, the idea for your business, if it is an original idea, if your idea, even if it's not necessarily an original idea, but that your business is different than any other business, is actually what I call a tangible asset, or actually something that could be either patented or copyrighted, depending on how different your idea is. There are even the name of your business. If it's an original name and hasn't been utilized, you should definitely have that copyrighted. And depending on what your business is, what the product you're selling is, or the service you're selling it is, you might want to think about patenting that. And there's a way of, it's very simple to get a patent, and it's also very simple to get a copyright. It's actually, there are millions and millions. I mean, the patent office has to approve of your patent. You have to pay for that, for them to look at it and see whether your patent. But if you have a new product, a new idea, something that's totally original, a new formula, let's say it's a new formula for a soda, you're definitely going to want to get that formula patented. And you're definitely going to want to get your brand copyrighted. You know, the way it looks, the name, Canada Dry, all the things that are included in that, you would definitely want to get copyrighted. So why am I talking about that? Well, there is a huge part of business that's called intellectual property. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit. And we're also going to be talking about ethics. Ethics in business. Now, what is ethics? Ethics in life, we all understand. You know, thou shalt not kill. You don't want to harm other people. You don't want to hurt. You want to be a good person, do good by others. You want to hopefully give to charity, help out people in your community, your family, your friends. Those are all part of, living a life, an ethical life, a life of, being good to others, and hopefully others will return that to you, but not necessarily. But that's also part of life. You try to live an ethical, moral life where you are good to others and others will be good to you, and you're honest. Honesty being the number one thing. Honest to yourself, honest to others. First, really to yourself. Honest about your actions and honest about what your intentions are, and if you did wrong, morally wrong. And in business, it's the same thing. And in business, it's extraordinarily important that you maintain an ethical business life. Not just because it's the good thing to do. Now, you're going to tell me, oh, businessmen are all unethical. They're all horrible. They're like lawyers. They're like sharks. There are so many unethical people in business you can't even imagine, just as there are so many unethical people in life, human beings. But those are not the people you want to do business with. Those are not the people you trust. Those are the people you might want to do business with one time. But if someone lies to you in business, or someone you can't trust in business, you really shouldn't be doing business with them. You should stop doing business with them and then find somebody that you can rely upon and someone that is trustworthy. And it's hard, and there are people that are not ethical in business, and there are people that are not trustworthy in business, and you really have to scout out the ones that are live by their word and are honest and will tell you what they can and can't do honestly. People always say, oh well, you go into a job, and when you go into the interview, you tell them you could do this, and you really can't do this, and that's okay because you get the job and you'll learn how to do it. Well, yeah. What you could say also is, listen, I really don't know this. I really want this job. I hope I can learn this. I'm a very good learner, but listen, people do what they have to do to get through in life, and I'm not saying that people don't lie all the time, especially in business. That would be insanity. But you try to be a moral businessman. You try to live, or businesswoman. You try to live by your code of ethics. And I want to talk to you about a story about just really what's happening now in the world in business, and what I see in the world in business. And I have a friend who is a businessman who owns his own company. It's a very good company, actually. Here we go again. Another Kingsborough graduate. Yes, went to Kingsborough and then went to Rutgers. And he is a person who owns a very successful women and men's skincare company. They make all sorts of products, lotions that go to beauty parlors and go to spas, and they have all sorts of scrubs and lotions and products that are for your face and for your body, and they're high end. They're high end products, very expensive products that are marketed really made with very high end ingredients. That this person worked on his entire. Well, actually, it was his mother's company, and then he took it over. But he's expanded it considerably, where it's all over the United States and really all over the world. And he has made it a multi-million-dollar company with many, many employees, and it's become a huge. It's a big part of his family's life, his life. He's been able to be very successful at it. All from Kingsborough. Started out in Brighton Beach. I think he started out in Brighton Beach, so he has a story that he tells me, and it's a very hard story and something he's been living with for many, many years. And this is about unethical business. And what happened was he was at a trade show in, I think it was in Miami, and large trade show for his type of business, where they set up, all sorts of displays and tables. And usually at trade shows, it's all about business to business relationships. There are other businesses there that are trying to buy your product, and they usually buy it in, either they have a small store, a small, mom and pop beauty parlor or spa or whatever location, or it's a large group of people that want to sell your stuff in stores, or have a large chain of spas or something like that, or hotels, and they want to use your product in their hotel. So my friend from Kingsborough was at this show, and there was a third party that introduced him to a man from China who was supposedly a very successful, wealthy man who owned a chain of hotels and was looking for products for his spas, and a large chain of hotels, among other things that he owned, in China and throughout the Far East, I guess. And what happened was that he wrote up a massive order. They met. My friend from Kingsborough and him and this gentleman met, and this man was in love with the product. And by the way, my friend had developed everything in the product. He had developed all the formulas for all these products. Really, it took him many, many, many years, and he had developed the packaging and the look and the reputation of the product. The reputation being such an important part. The product was considered an extraordinarily good product, and it had a tremendous reputation for health. Women liked it because it didn't cause any kind of rashes. It was very good on their skin. They loved the feel of it, the smell of it, what it did to them. It was very, and men too, not just women. I've tried it. It's terrific stuff. So what happens is this man from China, who is a multi-millionaire mogul, takes a huge order from them, I think it was even a couple $100,000 worth of product. The orders from him, and what happens is, my dog is crying. What happens is that about a year later, maybe even a little less, my friend starts hearing that his product is being sold in all different places that he does not have relationships with. All sorts of places all over the world that he does not have relationships with. This is my friend from Kingsborough. And he finds out that not only is the product being sold, it is not his product. He finds out eventually that this Chinese individual, and I identify him as China not because of his ethnicity, but because China does not have laws that protect. We can't sue China for patent infringement or copyright infringement. They are one of those nations that does not have a relationship, has not signed on with the United States and Western Europe and other nations, so that they can pretty much steal anything they want in terms of our intellectual property, and also these products that have been come up with by this individual, and steal it, and there's no consequence. They could actually take the exact name, which is the name of his product, and sell it in countries that are not. So they can't sell it necessarily in the countries that do have copyright infringement and have signed on. There they'll be taken from the shelves. But in other countries that he does not have relationships with, they can. And what he did was, obviously, this guy reversed engineered and reversed administered the product. So he found out exactly what was in the product, and then he, in some cases, substituted his own things, cheaper things that were not as good for your skin and not as good for your body as the original one. And so he literally stole this. He stole the packaging and the name and everything, and started selling it all over the world. So he started selling an inferior product all over the world that affected not only my friend's bottom line, because it's not his product and he stole everything, his whole name, everything, but he also affected his reputation, because now people are saying, oh, this product, I just bought that was no good. It made my skin, tingle, or it was no good. It wasn't his product, but it looks, smells, is exactly like his product, but it wasn't his product. Even worse, some of his product from these other countries was being shipped to countries where his product was. So it started actually competing head on with his product. In other words, they had, let's say it was being sold in England. So there'd be one spa he would go to and it would have his product in it, and then the next spa would be the other product. And the other thing that was terrible was the competitor, the man from China, was selling the product that looked like his product at much less money. So they were undercutting his price. So they stole his aha moment. They stole his intellectual property. They stole his business. They stole everything about him. They stole all of his years and years. I mean, I'm talking unethical, beyond unethical. Stole everything he ever had, all his creativity, all of his hard work, all of the nights and weekends where he'd be knocking on people's doors and asking them to use his product. All the sweat. They stole the food from his mouth. They stole the food from his children's mouth. They stole everything, and with no consequences. totally unethical with no consequences, because there's nothing he could do, this individual from Kingsborough, because he can't sue, because there's no relationship in terms of the law with China. And it was a very, 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 very tough, and it still has not stopped. But the idea has gotten out there that this is a ripoff, and it's kind of like when you go. I mean, I know you all love to do it, and I love to do it too, and it's a horrible thing. You go to Canal Street and you buy, rip-off Gucci or rip-off Rolex or whatever it is, Prada or whatever product it is that they've manufactured an inferior product that is incredibly cheap when you walk down the street. Obviously, that's in the United States. It's totally illegal. That's why, they run away when the police come, and hopefully they get swept up. But there, you could kind of tell very quickly that the product is not the same product. You could tell that the stitching, it's not the quality product. But still, people like to wear it. They like to look like they own those products. And some people don't like to do it because they feel like, hey, I'm not a poser. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to wear something that's not real. But it doesn't really matter. It's not really. People say, oh, it's you're participating in that. Well, yeah, you are kind of. The person who buys my friend's skincare product, yeah, they participate, but they don't really know. They don't know. People who go to Canal Street, they know that it's not really that product. But in the case of my friend's skincare products, they're used in a spa. How is you don't know what kind of cream is being put on your body, but the spa knows, and the spa is buying it, and whatever country this person sold it to, it's they're involved in it. Why am I telling you all this? Well, one is I'm supposed to teach a whole section about ethics, and I thought this was a very good story about an ethical challenge that you're faced with. And how is my friend fighting it? Well, he tries to fight it by constantly saying that the product is inferior and will hurt you, so that other people will not be buying the product. And that's been pretty successful. He's gotten the word out among the community that what was being sold in China will actually hurt you, and it does hurt you. Eventually, over time, some of the stuff that they were putting into it was cancerous, and would hurt you eventually. So he did what he could, and he's fought back against it, and he's done a successful job fighting about it. So why am I bringing all this up? Because in your paper, on the 5th page, the last thing, you're going to talk a little bit about the conclusion of your business, but also about how you're ethically, and this is important, how you are ethically going to live your life in business. Like, will you, tell, like if you're doing something, and these are part of ethics, business ethics, will you use only, products that are healthy for people? Will you, I'm talking about if you're making something that's like for school, clothing or food, will you make sure that where your products are sourced from? Your services, will you, if a job isn't done well, will you have some sort of thing where it says, we will, return your money to you, or we'll do it again until you're satisfied. Those are the types of things I'm talking about. Business ethical type things, the old days they used to say, the customer was always right. Do you have a policy for customers? Do you have a policy for customer service? Ethically, do you have a way of dealing yourself in business? Are you yourself? Is there a way that you treat people? Is there? It's almost like under marketing. Is there a customer service credo that you have? I noticed lately that when I go to Target, or as some of you call it, Target, or whatever you want to call it, you walk down the aisle and they have a new policy. You could tell they have a new policy. It's somebody's been doing some sort of customer service training at Target, and the new policy is that some of these some of the people who work there, maybe even some of you work at Target, you know about this. I can tell that they now have to say, "How are you? Good morning," or "How are you? Good afternoon." That's something new. They didn't do that a couple of months ago. I walked into Target the other day. I'm walking down the aisle to get some food for my family, and there's like 4 people lined up when you first walked in, and it was like, good morning, and they all said the same thing, good morning, how are you today? I'm like, I'm fine. Then the second one said, good morning, how are you today? Same as I was back there, doing good. Third one, good morning, how are you today? I'm great. The fourth one asked me, I was like, I'm the greatest I've ever been today. This is amazing. I mean, they looked at me like I was insane. But it was like, okay, I get the customer service. It's very nice, and it does help. But by the fourth time, you're a little bit like, okay, I'm done with the asking of how I. You don't really care how I am. So my friend actually wanted to go in and say, you know, he's getting divorced. He said I want to walk in. He goes, I walked by them. He goes, I wanted to say, I'm getting divorced. I feel terrible. I was like, okay, don't have to ask, too many people asking me questions in the morning. Yeah, that could be your customer services. You know, how to greet people and how to speak to people. As I said, I think I've said in one video, but you really should check it out. You know, some of the best people who have great customer service are the cast members at Disney. They are remarkable in how they offer customer service and customer service training. Incredibly friendly people. Incredibly, they'll go to all sorts of lengths to help you out. All right, I think I've talked enough for right now and bored you enough about business ethics. I'll post another video on business ethics tonight for tomorrow, so you can watch it, and you'll have this video. All right? Have a wonderful day.